me. I can see Brian's already in the chat. I've got a bit of a lag on my end, but it doesn't matter, we can't hear it. I just give everyone a minute to get in. I can see the chat tonight as well. Not had to put my map up, so I'll be able to chat with everybody. There we go. Iron Man with a plan. Yeah, turn me off. Why am I doing? There we go. Turn me off. Why am I doing? There we go. Right. A bit of echo there, didn't we? Right, here we've got 4 in. We'll wait a little bit of a minute. So as you can see, I'm a bit padded up and I can't use it at the minute, but it's miles better than it was. Got my new railings in as well. There's our Derrin, sober carper. Brian C, I could just eat a custard slice or a Manchester tart, Deb. If there's anybody out there that can teach me to eat a custard slice without 90% of the custard going all over my saucer and not in my mouth, I'd be highly grateful. I thought it was my weak hands. I even got Mark to try cutting it, didn't I? Yeah. And even Mark couldn't get through it, so there's still half of it in there. Roy can have it later on. And as for Manchester tart, did you like that at school?
No.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it?
Bananas.
Yeah, why'd they call it after Manchester if it's that bad? Yeah. It's like the thickest skin on a custard you've ever seen on your life. You could trampoline on it, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you wait home on for your dinner at school and you get your wet, sloppy cabbage and all that. And the promise, if you eat that, you'll get a really nice pudding. Manchester tart is what you get faced with, or semolina, and putting a bit of jam in the middle does not make it a pudding, but there we go. Susan, thank you very much, Susan. That's really kind of you. Right, I can see everybody's in now. I haven't been able to do any work this week, so if you've emailed me, messaged me, or left me a comment, I can't get to it. I haven't been able to get to it. The girls are coming tomorrow for tea, so I'm going to have a day with the girls, and then I'll jump in and I'll do all of my messages and everything that I need to do. But for the first time in 14 years, there is no pain in that. It is that full of lidocaine. She's promised me it'll be into next week before I actually start to feel the nerves trying to fix themselves. But it's a positive. I'm done, over and done now. I'm not going to have it done again. That's the thing, you see. The worst that'll happen now is they'll freeze it, won't they, Mark? And that'll be it, and it's done. But it's a miles better. And I might be able to go forward not having to wear my cast all of the time. So, what did I want to touch on? A few people have reached out to me about meats, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and look, but one of the lassies got in touch with me from Mauritius, and she sent me a really nice campsite that I'm going to show to Mark tomorrow. Let him have a look at the area and see what he thinks, so that might be our first one. I know Andy Booth is doing a number of meetups in July, so if he's doing any near me, I'll pop along to them if anyone wants to join. I'm not really sure. I think Andy's just working all the details out. I look different. Why do I look different? Do I look different,
man? No.
Maybe because I don't look ill. I've looked ill for so long, haven't I?
Yeah.
Somebody left me a comment last month and it said, wow, wow, what's happened to you since I last saw you? And I thought, menopause, old age, 2 serious infections that nearly took me out of the game, no sleep, adding to that 24 hours of abject pain, 9 stone of weight loss. So it's a lot's happened in the last 3 years. And I'm starting to feel like my normal self for the first time in a long time. So going forward, I don't know why I look. Maybe it's just my camera. Let me have a look. No, I don't know. I'm not doing bad there, am I? Don't know. Do you know what it might be? There's this amazing treatment out there. And if anybody suffers with arthritis or nerve damage or anything like that, it is an absolute fortune to get it done on private. I think it's about £150 for an hour. If you have a local sunbed shop, ring them up and ask them, do they have a red light bed? It won't tan you, but what it does is it tells your cells to reactivate. So when you get off it, you feel like you've had like this deep, you only go on for 10 minutes, and it feels like you've had this really deep, muscular like massage, and it hurts for 24 hours. But it really does make a difference, and it's something I've started doing regular. Sometimes I just go once a week, and like I say, it's not a sunbed, so you don't have to worry about skin cancer or anything like that. It's an ultra red tube, and it basically tells your cells at a cellular level to recreate. You know, burn off your dead cells and put on your good. I've also took some advice off Locke, and I'm cutting a lot of things out of my diet. So going forward, he explained to me, and I'd never heard of it before, that if you don't, you know, eat continuously all of the time, and you let your body go without food for a while, it starts to eat up the bad parts of itself. So all of your cancer cells, and you know, your lack of collagen and all of that. Yeah, ultra red tube. If you can find an ultra red tube, any sunbed, lots of sunbed shops have them, and just phone them up. That's what I did. My occupational therapist recommended it to me. So me and Mark got some prices privately, and we just couldn't afford to do it. And I thought that's an absolute shame that you know, I can't fix myself because I don't have the money to do it. And she said to me, "Have you tried your sunbed shop?" And I was like, "No." And she went, "Ask them. Lots of them now will have what they call an athletic bed. So I'll have some of them have like a red tube, a blue tube, a green tube, and an orange. So you get the whole light spectrum, or you can choose which spectrum do you want. And all of them are really good for regeneration. So 10 minutes, you just lie there. It's lovely. It's like a sunbed. It's underneath you and above you. Music's playing. You know, you can Bluetooth your phone for it. Oh, thanks, kids. You're always really kind to me. And it's dead relaxing, and it really does make a difference. And I think from what you guys are saying, that I actually look a little bit different, which is wonderful, you know. So let's get to what did we do tonight? Tonight we did the Cannock Chase murders. And it's something I've been working on for a while on my own, quietly in the background, because honestly I hadn't heard of them. Growing up, I thought, you know, you say the Moors murders, the Ian Brady, and you instantly know that case, don't you? Mary Bell, we were talking about in chat, you instantly know that case. Hiya, Vinny. Hiya, Roger. But Raymond Morris, I'd never heard of him. I'd never heard of Raymond Morris. And I started to look at the case, and I realised that he fits a typical unorganised serial killer. And the way that they're all different, don't get me wrong, they're all unique, and they all have their own way of killing. But each of them has a particular way of enticing a victim, what they do when they have the victim, how they dispose of the victim, and how they find the victim. So each killer is different in that. Some men will drive the roads, hours and hours and hours, like hunting. You get on the road and they just drive and drive and drive until they find that victim. And it could be a spur in the moment jobber, but they will be in that car for that reason. They will always have their eye out, like a hunter really, or a fisherman. You will always have your eye out looking for that good ground where I might, you know, that's a honey hole, I'll go over there. Well, serial killers are exactly the same. And what they tend to do is start very, very close to home, usually in their own homes as children. So there will be not picking on a brother and sister, but adverse violence towards a brother or a sister, a family pet, one of the elderly relatives. There's always a touch of cruelness within them, and that tends to be seen. And now, with psychological profiling, you can spot that in a young child, and you can try and reverse that going forward. But a serial killer, by the time his cases have come to public knowledge, he's very well versed. It's something he's done, thought of, practiced on a daily basis, because that's his thing. That's what he needs to make him feel control and powerful. And Raymond was very, very much like that. But he had a distinct pattern. So for anybody who's not in the UK, I need to explain kind of how the UK is set up. We have big towns like Birmingham, Manchester, London, granted, and they have big skyscrapers within them. And as you get closer and closer to the suburbs of those towns, the houses become smaller and smaller. And you'll get little mining villages that have then become popular because they are on the main route into one of the big towns, and people don't want to live in town. So you get these conurbations. So instead of spreading out, we tend to spread up. So you'll find old little quaint villages with a big tower block in the middle of them. And it was quite natural after the war to do that, because so many houses were bombed that they had to do that. They had to pack you in. So I managed to trace Richard's, I keep calling him Richard, and I don't know why, and that's going to come into it for me at some point, because I don't make that mistake, not naturally. And every time I typed his name, I typed Richard. and I don't know why. So I'm going to go and see if he's got a brother called Richard, a cousin called Richard. There's a Richard connection somewhere. Raymond Morris lived on Green Lane, and the first victim that survived was Julia Taylor, and she was taken about 3 streets away from that tower block. So not even a block, as the Americans would call a city block. So a couple of 100 yards. So he's in this tower block, and he's looking out that window, and he's seeing this kid, and she's his type. He liked young girls between the ages of 4 and 10. And in each of them, they were enticed. So, do you want to see me puppies? Do you want some sweeties? Get in the car and I'll take you to your aunties. That's how he got Julia Taylor. He pulled up in the car and he said that he was a friend of her mum's. He was her uncle, and her mum had said she must get in the car with him, and he'd take her over to her auntie's because her auntie needed some help with the Christmas decorations. The second that girl was in that car, that was it. He's got complete control over her. He's a grown man in his 20s, in his absolute peak, and she's a young girl, you know, a young girl. And he left her for dead. Luckily for her, a cyclist who was out on his bike heard her moans, and he found her. Now, back in the day, there was no mobiles in the 60s. There were phone boxes, but there wouldn't have been any on the Chase. You'd have only got that in like a built-up area. And we used to have a police phone, so it's like a little box. You see it on Top Cat. It looks like a little box, or it looks like the TARDIS, and you would go into that and ring the police. And this guy's got the ambulance out to her, and they've managed to save her. And she gave a really good description of Richard. I don't know how they went about that investigation back in the day, so I don't know if they did an house to house or an inquiry or not, I don't know. But he was alibied by his wife. His wife said that he'd come straight home from work that day, and there was no way whatsoever that it could have been him. And then he does the next one. He takes the next one. So when he took Jane Taylor, he found her within less than a mile of his home, and he dumped her within less than a mile of his home. She was his first one that we know of. There will have been earlier victims. He may have killed before. We don't know. We only know the ones that he got done for. But you don't start killing in your middle 20s for no reason whatsoever. You don't just wake up one morning and become a serial killer. There is a gradual build-up of behaviour to that. So he would have been in a marriage where he was the boss, a table banger, as I would call him. He couldn't get his own way. He'd be banging on the table and throwing things at the wall. I would imagine his wife lived in fear of him, in all honesty, as would have his own children. Later on in the case, she revoked those alibis because they found photographs of her 5-year-old niece with Raymond. So she then said, no, he was not at home. He's probably said to her, I was out burgling, love, tell them I was here, or I'm going to go down for that burglary or whatever. She's fell for it, hasn't she, like some of us would have done. I probably would have done the same. But then he starts to move further out. So he's using his car. He's using that A road because that would have been the main route at the time. And the next case, I've probably not got them in the correct order, but the next case would be, for me, would be Christine. So that's the next part of the case I look at. He picked up Christine, once again, in a very short area from his home. Very, very short. A little further out than Julia, but not by much. And he dumped her 9 kilometres away. What's the discrepancy there? Julia was found. She was dumped within a mile of his home. She was found. He got away with that by the skin of his teeth. So he takes her north. Every single one of his victims was picked up very close to his home in that car, or his car at the time. And then he travelled north. He didn't take any of them south, east or west. Each and every one of them was taken north. And 2 of the girls were found together in the same dip. So one on top of the other. Yeah? He took a girl called Margaret. Same thing. Very close to home. Dumps her 19 kilometres away. Still around Hensford on the Chase. So then we've got Diana Taft. Similar thing. Picks her up close to home. Drives the same A road. Just drives for 11 kilometres this time. So put yourself in Raymond's shoes. You've got the girl in the car. You've done what you needed to do to her. We don't know if the girls were killed in the car. That's the main scene 1. And the deposition site is scene 2, where they found the bodies. That's what they call the deposition site. Or he gets her in the car, he takes her to the deposition site, he commits a crime there, and he leaves her there. He didn't spend any time covering them up, so then he's not connected to him. Normally, the amount of care that goes into hiding a body gives you a relationship. If Mark murders me, he's going to make sure that they can't find me, and if they do find me, they don't find my identity, because the first person they're going to look for is your husband or somebody within your family, and then it works out to your friends and your colleagues and your neighbours. So if a serial killer, just what we call fly tip, pull up, kick her out, get back in the car and go, them two cannot be connected. Now they would, there'd be CCTV, there'd be DNA, but back in the 60s there was none of that. So he's probably been quite glib and quite confident. Look at Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy ran his own case in court. That's how good he was at it. They're not all Quasimodo, you know, with the hunchback and the flashback. They're very sophisticated, some of them. Raymond wasn't sophisticated. But back in the day, he was, because he got away with 3 murders before the police were even onto him. Now it'd be different. Now, on the very first, when we get Julia Taylor, DNA would have been taken from Julia. It would have matched to Raymond. And Raymond, honestly, in all honesty, in England, probably would not have done a prison sentence for that. He might have got a community service. He might have had to go on a sexual awareness course, but he would have wiggled out of it. Robert Black, who killed, do you remember little Sarah Payne? He'd been caught over and over and over and over and over, and each time he was let out. He was even caught with his landlady's young girl's underwear when the police arrested him, and he got out. And that's what it's like in the UK. Fortunately, in America, if you get done for a crime like that, you do a bloody long time and they don't let you back out on the street. If you're a dog and you bite a child, they put you to sleep. But in the UK, you can do what you want to it. And the worst that will happen, you might do 9 years. You get a 9-year sentence, you'll do 4.5. You'll get a free home when you come out, won't they, Mark? They'd be protected, they'd be shielded, all the medicine would be free. Anything they needed would be free. They would be found a job if they were in the work age thing. Everything's catered for them when they come out. So there's nothing to stop them wanting to commit these crimes again. If Raymond hadn't been caught, he would have either stayed with that wife and continued abusing his nieces, or he would have gone on to another woman. He would have come out of prison, found another woman that had a child that he was after, and he would have moved in with her, and then he would have groomed that child. That's how they work. I mean, you don't even have to do a medical degree in it anymore to understand that that's the way it goes. So Fat Bob has said, Raymond Morris lived opposite Walsall Police Station on Green Lane. You know? So, right, I didn't know that, but right, I haven't pulled up a map yet of the old area. I'm still working on my current map. And what I'm trying to find, on the deposition sites, there's something similar in each of them. Do we all have like a little gully or a ditch, or what I'd call a ginnel? So a kind of, where water would form at the bottom. So you just tipped them and cover them up with a bit of bracken and left. But each of them, there's a water source at them. So there's 3 areas where I think she could possibly be. And they are all between Green Lane and Hensford. So we're looking at Landy Wood. Landy Wood fits with the amount of time that he would drive normally. It's very, very close to the site where Diana and Christine were found, only across the field. It has all of the things that I now know to look for in Robert's MO. And I think that's the high percentage is that's place 1 that she will be. Newlands Brook is the next one, which is not that far away, but that fits the pattern as well. The only problem I've got is I don't know what homes were built pre-60s and what homes are built since. So she could have long ago been buried a little further out, and there's a housing estate on top of her or a road on top of her now, and there's nothing we can do physically about that. But we can move her on. One of the things that's playing on my mind, and it's only my mind and it's only my opinion, but I can't get it out of my head, is all these little girls with black eyes that are seen on Cannock. And it just claws at me that one of them might be Jane, you know, just wanting to be found. The member of the public seeing a ghostly child, I get it. I'd be terrified if I saw a ghostly child. But she's showing herself to females with kids. And that, to me, I can't get that out of my head. I keep thinking, what if she's there? and that's why she's showing herself. So I think the only thing that I can do is go back. I don't want to go back, but I think I'm going to have to go back. And hopefully it'll be like a Kitty situation, and I'll get guided. I don't know. I really, really don't know. But I got to go back and at least try. And I thought, if I can't find her when I'm there, I'm hoping I can find her on the map. So there's lots of things I'm doing in the background now. I've contacted the police. There's two ways that you can get police files. A, from the police museum. If they've got anything that's to do with that case within their exhibits, they're usually pretty good at letting you know. And then there's a freedom of information. So I want to know, within a 5-mile radius of Green Lane, how many young girls that we know of tried to be enticed into a car, or were actually enticed into a car. He did get 2 girls, took them back to his flat and put them in separate rooms. And when they were at the police station, the police didn't believe them because they couldn't back each other's story up. But they couldn't back each other's story up because they were in 2 separate rooms when he abused either one of them. Oh, thank you, Tanya. It's really hard for me to see over there. That's really kind of you. So we do know a little bit about him and how he offends from what Julia Taylor told him after her attack, and what those other 2 girls told him. And there was a woman who saw him entice the girl into the car. So we know that that's how he went about it, and that's how he did. So we need to look for cases then, from about 1960, which would put him in his late teens, to him being arrested and going down. How many other cases were reported to the police in that corner between Green Lane, Hensford, going up to the Chase? Were there any? And if they were, could we tie them to Raymond? I'd love to find out what cars he had in his name, but back then, my dad drove till he was 35 without even having a driving licence. I don't think he registered any of the cars that he owned, and I think it was like that for lots of people then, wasn't it, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
So whether those cars were registered back then but I can try. There's no harm in trying. And try and put something together to try and A, help Jane, and B, the more we learn about, hi Jason, I didn't see you comment there, hi Jason. The more we learn about each individual killer, it gives you some insight going forward. So if it was my job and I was getting paid to do it, I would write all of these down and I'd look for the patterns between them. And then when you've got people coming in at the early age of 16 and 17 where they're getting done for things, I mean, lots of serial killers will do burglary. They'll break into schools, they'll smash things up, they'll do something. They're chasing adrenaline. And there's a lot of, Brian mentioned it before, there are a number of reasons we think that this happens in people other than nature or nurture. Lots and lots of serial killers have front brain damage from a fall or an accident when they were a child, so you have to take that into consideration. Some of them, like I say, it's family learned. They may have had a sociopath as a father, an uncle, a brother, a grandfather. So they learn that behaviour is okay. Because as a child, what you see around you is okay, because the adults are doing it, aren't they? And that happens more than people think, where someone's arrested and they've learned and their hands are the knee of the grandfather kind of thing. You know, look at Fred West, for instance. Every single member of that family, the male members, had all been to the police station at some point for interfering with underage girls. It was well known in the village that Rose slept with the father and that Fred slept with his mother, you know? It was just... Mike, what's Gloucestershire like? I don't know, I've never lived down there. But it produced Fred West. And Fred West, for all he got done for all those girls, they were not his own. There's no way has he killed for 30... He drove for 33 years and only done that many. It is a compulsion. It's something they need. It's how they get their adrenaline. And he eats at them like a wolf, with a hunger, really, until they satiated, till they get what they want. And that's why you see, in the beginning, you might see one case every 18 months or every 2 years, because that act will keep him going for that long. But then the gaps will start to get shorter and shorter, because he's forever chasing that first high. Just like an heroin addict, isn't it, Mark? Forever chasing that first high. He'll take more and more and more of a risk, but also he will hone his skills he'll get better and better and better at hiding the body, better at enticing them in, better at coming up with alibis. Many of them get imprisonment for 12 months and they sit in that cell for 12 months and think, I'll never leave a live victim again. And then your rapist becomes a murderer, and that's how it works. We all learn like that, and for them, it's like riding a bike. And there are periods when they go quiet because they find a victim close to home, as did Raymond. He was messing with his nieces, you know, so that's probably why you've got 18 months there where he's not felt the need to go out and get a victim. But it would have been eating away at him, you know. So we don't know what was going on in his mind, but we can speculate. We've got enough information there, haven't we, to speculate that there was probably something going on at home that made his behaviour, A, not stand out to his family, and B, just be accepted. So I thought, right, I'll just go on Ancestry and do what I do on Ancestry to find my own bloody family, so I bet I can find him. And I did find a couple, and I actually managed to get a message back off one of them, but you don't know. You don't know if it's really that person, do you? So I haven't gone any further with that, because what she told me was quite disturbing, really, in all honesty. And like, until you can prove that, then you can't put it out there, I know. And for the people who keep asking me, am I writing a book on this? No, I'm not writing a book on this. It takes too much out of you. Mark sees what I'm like, how upset I get, and I obsess, and I'm trying to... What was it like with that body in the park? Oh, that was bad. That was really bad. I'm going to talk about that in a different live stream. Because it was so intense, and it was so upsetting for me that I turned myself off psychically for about 18 months, because I just thought just couldn't have done it again. I wasn't seeing through the eyes of the victim. I was seeing through the eyes of the murderer. And I knew that wasn't the only victim, and there was nothing I could do about it. It was horrible. It's nothing worse, is there, than knowing that something bad's happened and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Your hands are tied, your lips are sealed, there's nothing you can do. You know, so it's hard, that's hard for me to accept that, being a control enthusiast that I am, you know. But I knew that if I looked at that newspaper that morning, that the day before, I'd woken up and I just knew. I said to Mark, oh my God, like, there's a man been killed and he's been dumped in the park. I call it the ashes, don't I? The car park is awful. It's made of cinder. And it's an old plague dumping site, and it's the most awful place in the park. I hate it, and I knew he was there. I just knew. I knew he was foreign. I knew what he was dressed in. I knew he was wrapped in something blue. I knew he'd only been there since the night before. I could see him getting off the tram, walking up Lombardy Road with this blonde guy. All of it. And I couldn't shake it. So I just refused to think about it for the day, because it was Erica's birthday. And the next day I opened the newspaper, and the kids found him in the park at 8:30 in the morning, going to my school where I saw the monster. So they were cutting through that park going to school, and they found him wrapped up. And everything I'd said about him, eventually it came out. I knew that he'd been given like a Mickey in his drink. I knew that it wasn't... He'd gone home with this lad thinking it was like a romance thing, and this lad was taking him because he wanted him. He lived in Eccles, the guy who was arrested and thing, but that's not the only victim he's had. I know it's not. And then I worked the Sanaga case, and that's a whole level of... I mean, 150 victims we got up to there, didn't we, Mark?
Yeah.
150 victims, and they're only the ones that they can prove. And they were only from 2008, so how many more has he done? But, because now I know that you don't mind me doing the odd serial killer, I'll bring more of those cases forward if you want to do live streams on them, so we can have an ask about them, and especially the Manchester pusher, you know. Miles, I'm actually live while you're messaging me. If you just popped onto YouTube, you'd know I was live, and then you didn't have to keep messaging me. The message is like going mad there. Yeah.
I think there's more than one pusher.
I would agree, darling. I would agree. It's very rare you say something when I'm on, so tell me why you think that.
It's the diversity of the places where they put in, or where they pushed in.
I would agree 100%. You look at the victim description on the pushers. You've got your typical working class buff lad who looks like he plays rugby and goes to the gym. That's what Sanaga liked. That was his A-type victim. But then you've got another one out there who's taking the Asian-looking, mixed-race-looking boys, the ones that keep being pulled out of the devil's urinal. They're all mixed race and Asian. Yeah. And this is the theory that that could possibly be a taxi driver picking them up after the club, doing what he wants to them, and then dumping them down at that bit. 3 lads within a 3-month period all pulled out of the same thing, all very similar looking, you know. And then there's the barge, what they call the barge killer. Do you remember the boy that was screaming and his mum were on the phone to the police and they could hear him screaming?
Yeah.
If you're on that canal, you can go anywhere in England.
Yeah.
So you could slip them a micker,
Million.
put them on your houseboat, trip off to the Shropper, you know, or Yorkshire Canal, or wherever you want to go, you know, go down. You can go anywhere, can't you, on them canal systems, and just dump the body in like Yorkshire, or pick him up in Yorkshire and dump him in Bury St Edmunds. There's no connection to you, is there? And people would say, well, in this day and age, with CCTV and, you know, the presence of police on the streets, it wouldn't be that easy. There's about 200 lads gone in Manchester, so it's not that hard, is it really?
No.
There's no CCTV up on there. Even if all of these cases were suicide or accidental, why would Manchester City Centre not put railings up to stop them accidentally falling in all the time? You know, you think they would, the amount of money that goes through there. But this case on the Chase is very different because we're talking about working class families. So if you're not from Britain and you don't understand, it is still in this day and age that the higher rate your parents get paid, the more they'll look into your case. And I think it's like that across the world. So if you're a rich girl and you get stolen off the M61, there'll be a hue and cry for you. But if you're from Little Alton and you go missing, they'll say, oh, she's probably got drunk, or she's probably with some lad somewhere, or she's probably, you know, there's no interest goes into it because it's just, for instance, there are a number of females who've gone missing in the northwest of England from a case in 2018. 2018, walking around Manchester City Centre, disappears. The year after, they find her leg. You don't know her name, but you know the name of Nicola Bully. And you know what the difference was? Nicola Bully's middle class. Never put a step wrong. This girl, lassie, went missing, is working class with a few mental health problems growing up. So Nicola Bully was all over the newspapers like Gabby Petito. But there are thousands and thousands of women that go missing every day and every year that's names we don't know. When I was working the Pusher case, so it would have been, it was late towards the end of it. So just before Caelan passed, so probably Jan, Feb 23, something like that.
Feb.
Around about that time. There was a woman in Manchester City Centre that was in a car with an Asian male. In the daytime, it was about 1:30 in the afternoon. She ran from the car, holding her neck, and ran into a cafe. She'd had her neck sliced by a man. She was a working girl. He'd got her in the car, done what he wanted to her, cut her throat, and she managed to get out of the car and get away. No suspicious circumstances. She didn't even look for him. So he got her, put her in the car, did what he wanted to her, cut her throat, she got away, ran away. No suspicious circumstances involved in this whatsoever. Because she was a working girl. If she'd have been one of the lassies that come into Manchester every day that have got money and they're from really good families and they're from Cheadle or somewhere like that, it'd have been all over the newspapers and all over the media 24/7, and it's sad. And that's why the Pusher has got away. Even if there's three of them, yeah, those victims are not important enough to be in the media every day. When Raymond Sanaga, if nobody knows who Raymond Sanaga is, go and look him up. Raymond Sanaga came from the Philippines. He came here in 2007, and he was a very slight Asian male, and his preferred victim was the big, stocky, working class lad. That's what he liked. And he would wait until the end of the club, and then he had a flat right along the canal, in Canal Street in Manchester. And he'd find the ones that were drunk and split up from the friends, and he'd be like, oh, it's fine, honest, come to mine, use my mobile phone a taxi, have something to eat while you're waiting, and then you go home. And then he'd slip him a thing, and he filmed them all. When he was doing what he was doing with them, he filmed them all. So obviously, one lad, it was a 17-year-old boy, beat the living crap out of him. And that's how he was caught. The problem was that so many of his victims didn't know what he'd done to them, and the police had to sit down and say, look, we've got you on camera and this is what he's done to you. That must have been absolutely life-alteringly bad for them, you know. Fiona support, that happened in Chelmsford, Essex, Deb. Although I think it was probably an ex. I just think it happens. I don't think it's just women, Fiona. I think it's men as well. I think the more status you have, or the more status that your family has, the more important you seem, if you get what I mean. It's like, well, you know, one of the aristocracy's gone missing, there'd be a hue and cry. But if it were me, they'd say I'd run off and done myself some harm, or I'd gone off with some fella somewhere, I'd run off and had an affair and he'd done me in or something, you know, or I'd got in the wrong... It's almost like victim blaming, isn't it? You know, what are you doing out at that time of night? Well, you know, why were you... The amount of people, when I worked on the Pusher case, who have said to me, well, why were they out getting pissed like that? Some of them lads went at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They weren't all out, and you're allowed to go out. If you work all week, you are allowed to go out with your mates and have a good time at the weekend without being abducted to murdered, you know. I haven't got a problem with that. I think you're allowed to go out. And it's been like that for the majority. One of the things I wanted to touch on tonight was, people ask me why I have this... They understand why I'm obsessed with Bigfoot. They don't understand why I'm obsessed with murder and serial killers and trying to work serial killers out. I got that from my dad. And my dad was obsessed with it. Growing up, the first murder I remember, I would have been about 6 or 7. Yeah, it must have been, because we were on Woodhill by then. So I would have been 7. And I was telling the girls earlier in the chat, the first time a man came at me in the wrong way, I was 7 and I was with my older sister. And it was a postman in a post van, probably would have been 72, something like that. And he did that. Yeah, girls, can you tell me where Ellis Street was? And we were like, yeah, it's over there, mate. Like, on the other side, you have to go over there, mate. And he's like, no, come here and show me on the map. And we were like, we didn't think anything of it, did we? So we just, like, trots over and look in, and he's naked from waist down, and everything just flopped out on his A to Z. So that was my first introduction to the fact that some men are not right in the head. But not long after, only a few weeks after, there was a lady murdered. And she went to the pub. I'm not going to give her name because her family still live in Salford. She worked all bloody week, and she worked hard, and she did 2 jobs. And what the women used to do back then, and I'm sure many of you remember, Case will remember this, Mike will remember this, they worked all bloody week. They'd get their hair done on a Friday, they'd buy a nice dress, and they'd go out and meet their friends on a Thursday night maybe. Blokes always went out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My mum used to go and meet her mates on a Thursday. They might do a bit of bingo, you know. But they'd all get together for a port and lemon in the pub, because that's what you did back then. That's how you socialised. And that's what she did. She was walking home from the pub, probably 11:30 at night. She's passing the garages, and there's a lad there, and he's robbing out the garages, really. And she's like me, and she's gone, yeah, what are you doing? He's, you know, what are you nicking his stuff for? He's got to work for a living. What's wrong with your son? And he's murdered her. But he's murdered her in such a way that they thought she was a Ripper victim. Now, I don't remember being introduced to the Ripper. He was always there when I was a kid. As I was born, Ian Brady and Mara Hindley were being put into prison for the killing on the Mills murders, right? And then we went from that and we went straight into the Ripper. So I remember him coming round to school and telling us that we shouldn't go out on our own. And that what to look for. He was a Geordie. He was this. He was that. And they made you absolutely terrified. They played it every night on the news, you know. So I had that from like 7 to 13. So I lived under that. I honestly believe that Manchester is just numb to murder, because we come out of that and went right into Shipman and all of the things. But that didn't matter, because Shipman was only killing old people, so there wasn't much of a hue and cry about that, was there? Those old people were my age ones and younger, and they had families, you know. And we just kind of have this, I don't know what it is, a rhetoric of, but this like a scale of victimness. So if you tick all the right boxes, you're like excellence level achieved. So if you got anything happens to you, we'll go all out to like get you, right? But say you're a working class lass like me, and you used to go out for a drink and you've had the odd scrap, and they'd be like, she'll be off with some fella somewhere, won't she? She'll probably give her a good idea. So I'm like, I'm not excellence level. I'm right down there on, like, you know, I'm not a working girl, so I'm not right on bottom rung.
No,
You know,
a few rungs up.
You know, it's a bit of a difference, but it shouldn't be like that, should it?
No.
It should just be, this girl has gone missing, this has happened, and this is why. Yeah. And we need to go out and put all of our sources into finding that, and that, I don't think that's ever happened. I think like the only time I've ever seen that is Nicola Buller, or when that couple did it last year, Constance Martin. You love, the people in England have heard of this. That where the bridge, where the car burnt down, when that aristocratic couple ran away with the baby, we were driving back from Aldi, weren't we, when that were going on? A big fire on the roadside and everything. It's near where we live, and it was like, oh, what's going on there then? And then next minute, it's like this woman's given birth in a taxi, in a car, and ran away into a taxi and gone all the way down to London. I think she ended up near Joe in the end, right the way down there. And unfortunately, the baby died and all of that, and the court cases this week. But she's aristocracy. She's from one of the biggest families in the UK. You know what I mean? She's related to royalty, so of course everything went into that. But if one of my nieces ran away with baby, nothing would happen, would it? No, the police wouldn't get involved. They'd be, you know, they just have no interest. I think what I'm trying to get at is it's no different to 64 when we were hunting for Raymond. The victims were all working class lasses. They lived in council estates. The murderer is a working class bloke, lives on a council estate. It's not a whole lot of, you know, just why didn't we know about these? I mean, I'm sure people who lived in the Staffordshire area knew about them, but I didn't find out about them until I was researching some of the cases that I've covered on, some of the private cases that I've covered on Cannock Chase are just terrifying. One day I'll sit down and probably share them with you all, but now, just demonic possession, succubus attacks, people just changing overnight from actually being down there and doing these ridiculous ceremonies. I mean, I know a couple of people who've down there and basically sold their soul to a devil. And then it's like, can you come and help me now? And you're like, honestly, no, because you made that deal. There's nothing I can do about that. And those type of people tend to, like, they don't want you to change them anyway, do they, Mark? They're happy the way they are. But there's something about that land, something about it that, you know, could Raymond have come across something when he was younger, when he was on the chase? I don't know. But I think it's all tied together. So like I say, you've got these little black-eyed kids that are out there that are reported all of the time, mostly young girls. And people report seeing them. And people report seeing all manner of things on the chase, unfortunately. So I am going to go back through the chat now. Let me see if I've got any questions. And if you've not been clever enough to put them in capitals, I won't be able to find them. But if you've got any questions, sling them up to me now and I'll do them. So yeah, so what's the plan going forward? The plan going forward is A, get the freedom of information back and see what I can find and come up with some other ideas. I need to do more than just look for where he lived. I could do with knowing where he worked, because that's another area that's comfortable for him, innit? So say he was a lorry driver and he worked all over the UK, then we could be looking for cases like Robert Black all over the UK. But if we know that he was always in that Walsall area and he worked in that Walsall area, geological profiling, we can work out from there. So he's got 2 comfortable spots. And his mum's house would have been, you know, if it was a family home. Mark knows these streets like your own hand, don't you? The rat runs to me, I don't get him, but he understands him. Because you walked him as a kid. And like, you know, every corner where you could get away with something, and like every corner where you could run away from the police or get the bike away.
You can cut through.
Yeah, it's just, it's in you, isn't it? And if you're a wrong 'un, if you're a burglar, then all of that is stored up here, and then you get the pattern of him. So like, I'm trying to get Raymond's pattern out, you know. So I know he entices people. I know he uses his car to do it. I know that he always does a deposition within about 20 kilometres of home, and that's the longest he's gone. And unfortunately, he's dead now. And if he wasn't, I'd have been writing to him in strange ways, asking him if I could come in and talk to him and say, where's Jane Taylor? You owe her mum and dad, where is she? because nobody on this earth should be killed because of your sexual predilection. You know, nobody should be. And like, if there's nothing you can do before you die, if you're prepared to go over with that on your conscience, good on you, Raymond. But you should tell her parents where she is, because they have a right to know that. And even if they can't find her remains, knowing where he put her, they would still have a place. They probably been waiting for the other shoe to fall my entire age. So if they've passed now, they've gone not knowing where she is. But I guarantee that her brothers and sisters and her cousins want to know where she is. And they have that right, don't they? They have that right to bring their girl home, you know? And like, I really think, I honestly think that she's out there somewhere. I really do. I think she's out there somewhere, and she's been there since he put her there. Someone had asked me questions in cat. What about his hobbies, Deb? I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. So if he's fishing, he'll have all of his spots, won't he? And he'll be fishing, and he'll think, hey, this is a good idea, area for dumping a body in. I didn't think of that, Slice. That's a good idea. Where's my pen? Where's my pen? See, this is why I need people's help, because you always need more than one thought process, don't you?
Fishing spots, riding
No,
spots.
hobbies, yeah. If it was me, you'd go where I rode the horse, wouldn't you? You'd be like, right, I know where she'll be. She'll be up there, near the farm. Right, hobbies. Yeah, if he was lamping.
A cyclist.
Oh, yeah, cycling or...
Biker.
I know in America, there was a case called the 3-State Killer. And do you remember, I was obsessed with it, wasn't I? Because I said the killer looked like D.B. Cooper. It was the same drawing. And they never ever caught him, I don't think. And I don't think it was the one killer. But it was the first time that I realised that he would drive the road for days on end. He'd get in his car and he'd just drive the highways and highways until he saw a victim that fitted what he wanted. And then he'd take her and he'd dump her miles and miles away. Israel Keyes, another serial killer from Alaska, buried kill kits in all of the national forests across America for future killings. And he would go from his house, he'd say that he was doing, you know, he was on a hunting trip, and he'd fly to Denver. And when he got to Denver, he'd rent a car and he'd drive to another state. And when he got to that state, he'd get in and he'd go to another state, and then he'd kill them there and dump them somewhere else. And that's why it was impossible for him to put them together. And even to this day, we don't know how many Israel Keyes killed. He was so sadistic that that victim was dead 3 days. And he sat her up, put makeup on her, put a newspaper in front of her to give a proof of life photograph so he could get some money off her parents, and basically said, yeah, she's still alive, look. You know, that takes some... That's beyond evil to me, because that's done in a calm way. Sometimes you can understand a rage killing. If you've lost it, you've completely lost it, and you're not thinking or acting like yourself. Human beings can do the most awful of things, but that's cold. There's another level of cold planning, and I don't know how you do that. Hiya, Bob. Yeah, I think I lived just up the road from the garage. She was in the Duck and Partridge on the height, and she walked down Lanwithy Road, and do you remember on the corner where the guy used to have the taxis and he used to put balloons on them, and then they'd take all the kids to Blackpool? You carried on a little bit more, didn't you? Don't go down Sandy Lane as if you're going at Park. Go down to like Glendenning Street in Edmund Street. It was there. And I think she died within about 5 doors of her own home. Yeah. She was one of my dad's friends, and I remember a gossiping woman on our landing, and it stuck with me forever. And I remember my mum isn't like me. I'm like my dad. My mum's, I don't know, my mum's quite dignified, isn't she? Whereas I just say, oh, fuck off, yeah. My mum's much more dignified. And it's the only time I've ever seen my mum, like, snap like an alley cat, and I don't blame her. We were on the landings, and you know, like the fishwives talk, and they were saying, like, they were talking amongst themselves, and then my mum said, oh, it's really awful, innit? It's absolutely awful. And this one fucking woman, Muriel, I used to call her, turned around and she went, well, what was she doing out in a pub on her own? And my mum nearly flew for her. And it was like, because she worked all week. She grafted in the factory all week long and saw to her children and saw to her husband. And if she wants to go out for an hour and a half and play bingo, she should be allowed to do that and walk home in safety. But I remember as a kid thinking, oh, she's just blamed that lady, you know, for being attacked kind of thing. And I never thought the same about, I never didn't like that Muriel before anyway. But it used to mean Jackie used to nick her milk. No, because we wanted to milk, we just didn't like. She was horrible. She was just an horrible woman. She had like an opinion of everybody, and that was her opinion on that. Not that the fact that these children in that home now haven't got a mother, or the fact that there's a father in that home and his wife's been killed within 5 doors of him, and he hasn't known. None of that. She shouldn't have been out on her own. Like, okay, so we have to be chaperoned, you know. And it wasn't long after that they said that we weren't allowed out because of the Ripper. You know, and the women took to the streets, didn't they? We did the Back to Streets march. And what is sad, which is very, very sad, we only just done it for Sarah Everard, haven't we? So in 50 years, nothing's changed. From that postman coming to me and Jackie when we were a kid and going, yeah, well, I'll come here and show me on my map, to now, 50, nothing's changed. Oh, it has, and I take that back. Oh, hang on, we've got a little trolley. I have no idea who that is, but they're probably trying to plug the bloody channel in the name of it, aren't they? You know, nothing's changed, have it? It just hasn't changed. The difference being is now it's the police who are doing it to us, but that's a whole nother podcast. We all just sound like an accomplice. I do know who it was, but I can't remember his name now. I really, because I was only a little girl at the time, and I was really terrified about it. It really frightened me. And like, obviously, it would, wouldn't it? It's one of your neighbours. And I think it's like that for anybody when something awful like that happens. You don't have an understanding of it, even when you're an adult, let alone when you're a kid, you know. There's nothing you can do. I mean, things have changed now. We can spot wrong-uns as they're coming up. The problem is we don't have the system to deal with them. There isn't. Everybody knows the case of Jamie Bulger. Well, Jamie Bulger, at the time I was a clerical officer for City of Salford. I worked at St Anne's, and he was taken to Barton Moss. So he's come out of a family with about 10 boys. They're awful. The things that went on in that household make me aware of why he went on to do what he did to Jamie Bulger, and he was the main aggressor. Joe, the other one, John Venables, he was from a different home, a very, very different type of home. He was a little bit more up than he was, and he was always pinned as the bad kid. But when you look and you read into it, Robert was the worst child, which is strange because John's continued to do more and more and more. From being released, he's been put in, come out, put in, cut out, come in, and it's always about child porn. Whereas Robert's had one relationship from leaving and has never committed a crime again. And when he came into Barton Moss, it was like, I'm not going to lie, it was like he was a celebrity. He had, remember those little troll dolls that you used to get with the sticky up hair on top? He collected them, and he had hundreds of them in his room that people sent him or bought him. I don't know what gaming system was out at the time. It might have been a Mega Drive or a Master, I don't know, Mark, yeah. But whatever it was, he had every single game known to man. He got whatever trainers he wanted. We picked every single one of his family members up and moved them from Liverpool to Manchester and paid for all of that. They would take him out. To Man United to watch the games. There is no point did them boys do prison. And anyone who says, well, they did the sentence, no, they did not. They never did a sentence. They went into a secure unit, but it was a child's secure unit. They never actually did big boy prison, did they, Mark?
No.
At no point. And they were treated like royalty. He had whatever he wanted, he got. He was the most spoiled. So I'm working as a clerical officer, and one of the things as part of my job was the old archives. So moving old paperwork that's been put onto the system now, and it just has to be kept because you can't throw anything away. And I'll tell you why we were doing it. Because one of Fred West's wives, Rita, his first wife, Charmaine's mum, fled from him in 73 and came up here she wanted to go to Scotland, back home to her family, and she made it as far as Manchester, and she didn't have any other money, and she went to social services in Salford, and you know what they said to her? Count yourself lucky you've got an husband and get back down there to him. Yeah, and she was murdered, and so was Charmaine. And those notes were in the archive. And I'm going through those notes and I'm looking at the Bulger case and all sorts. If I've seen that as a clerical officer, God knows what my mother's seen. Because my mum was right high up, wasn't she? That was her job. God knows what she's seen. But the things that you see within families will make your eyes fall out. Absolutely make your eyes fall out, you know. And it's one of the saddest things known to man. Do you remember the Bob? Yeah, Bob, I'll take you back a bit. Bob, the Dog and Partridge pub, whatever pub you went on in Salford, anywhere, at any point, probably in the northwest of England, at about 10 o'clock at night, the Winkle man had come in with his basket of shelly goods that he'd got out of the sea 7 days before. I'd always get a prawn cocktail. You like them cockles in vinegar, didn't you?
Yeah.
Back in the day, children, before Just Eat, a good night out was a couple of lager and limes and a bag of cockles from the Winkle man when he came in. Kind of shandy, kind of bash shandy.
Yeah.
Or you got Lancastrian chippy on the eye going home, innit? Yeah. Yeah, that was a good time for us lot back in the day. Now you know why. That was my parents' generation. They did that. Like we were ravers, me and Mark, back in the day. Weren't we? But you know what it was like? Most kids in Salford sat outside the Winston or the Flatiron, you know, while your mum and dad were in there. And if you were lucky, you got a few bob to go on the machine, packet of like crisp and a bash shandy. Like we'll sit outside in like 105 eat. We'll be out at 5 o'clock kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I used to do.
None of them like play parks and all that, like next to pubs like they do now. Yeah.
But no, the one over there under the subway there.
Yeah, it was over the dual carriageway. Because, you know, when you think about it.
It was under the subway.
Yeah,
over the dual carriageway.
Yeah. But as a kid, did you use the subway or go over the road?
I used the subway.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, well, that subway.
I was went over the road.
Oh yeah, skateboard, so I used to fly through it.
Can't skateboard, can I?
I know my sister's roller boots.
Yeah, I can roller skate. You can ice skate him. I can't ice skate.
Ice skate.
Oh, I guess on there what seeing was like Torval and Dean.
Well, like Topple.
You got to see his suits, they're beautiful. Like, they're dead like satin and they come down here to shit. Go and get one out. Go, Mark, Victoria Hatswell, go and get Go and get one of your suits out. Get that one with the sequins on that says fit bum on the back. Yeah, that's my favourite one. It's lovely. It's like an Elvis one. It's got like this thing that comes up.
I swear to God, I'm gonna kill you when you look.
I don't know how he puts up with me. I really don't know how he puts up with me. What's up,
Next
Ron?
week I'll be up for murder.
You're gonna be up for murder? Joe will alibi her. Joe will say, you know, like, she's hard work. Deb Singer will. Deb Singer will be like, she can't people at all. You're gonna have to give him a bit of leeway. Poor bugger, the stuff he has to put up with me. Right, what time are we on? Right, I'll do it till the hour, if that's alright with you, and then I'm gonna take some pain meds. I am going for a bath, and I'm putting my pyjamas on, and I am getting in bed. My girls are coming tomorrow to cook dinner, so I'm looking forward to that. Tomorrow night, I'm being interviewed by Jeremiah, an American chap in, I think he's 10 o'clock at night, so I'll have to have a nod in the afternoon, I think, after I've had my dinner, and then I'll be fit for that. But then I'm off all week. I'm not doing anything. This week, I've boxed everything off. I don't need to do that anymore. That's all been and done. So I'll spend the first couple of days of this week going through my messages and catching up. We've had our first report of a British Bigfoot to come in for about 18 months, and that's quite natural. People say to me, do you only get them all the time? Well, kind of get them all the time, but they're older reports. So it's like, if we get 4 or 5 a year, 4 or 5 of them could be from 73 or 82, or, you know, or back in the day. There's a seasonal pattern, and I'll go into it more on next week's live stream. Most of you know it, but there tends to be, from harvest time to about January, there's a real drought in sighting reports, and everything seems to dry up, and the signs disappear in the woods as the food disappears. So as the natural foods go away, everything in the woods seems to close down, and then in depending on the weather, it can be January, February time, but normally in your normal British climate, it's usually end of Feb, beginning of March. And it's always in the driest areas. So, but there are some exceptions to that, and I should explain. In 2020, we had more sighting reports of British Bigfoot and woodroose, whatever name you want to give them, the wild man, because we were all locked up at home and people were seeing them. And I think they were coming out further, and that's why they would be being seen. And then the year after, we had awful flooding, lots and lots of flooding, and the Ouse flooded its banks. And we had a sighting report on that bank when it was flooded. On the same day, in Staffordshire, we get another report. So we knew they were on the move at that time. Been kind of quiet since. So, once again, it's been really mild up here for us. We've had a really mild summer. Winter, if we've had snow, we've had a couple of inches, haven't we?
Yeah.
Might have stayed for like a week or two, something like that, but nothing extraordinary, no real bad weather. And we might have had storms, but that's typical for us. And the first report came in on the 2nd of March. And it's something that I'll have to go into next week because it's an ongoing habituation kind of situation, and it's gone from being quite far out in the fields to right at the back fence, and that is very, very unusual. Very unusual. And even rarer, it is not a male. It's a female that's been spotted, and clearly female. And this is the time of year we start to get small footprints and things like that, but it's not something I can do in 10 minutes at the end of a live stream. It needs a whole live stream of its own. So I've written that account up. It will go out this week. You'll see it probably Tuesday or Wednesday, and then there'll be an entire podcast on it on that Saturday, and then we'll have a live stream like this, and you can chuck questions at me or whatever. But it's nice to see you in, Vinny. It's nice when I see people from home. When I started doing what I did, I never told anyone my name. I always was Debbie Wildman back then, because if I said Debbie Crossley, everyone knew who I was. Obviously, Salford's a small place. And then I was always worried when I married Mark that, you know, I'd bring ridicule kind of thing, like, and it's never happened. It's never really happened. But when I see somebody from home and they like what I'm doing, I think like I've done the right thing. Hey, we're doing well on Trolls tonight, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
What's my number? What do I know? What did he used to say at pubs, Mark? Someone asked me that. 1216121. Yeah, just no, I don't give my number out. I'm married, very happily married. I'm not a cheater. I'm not polygamous. I'm not any of those things that people ask me every bloody week in email. No, I'm a perfectly happy married lass. I've been with Mark almost 20 years now. Yeah. Yeah. So. Mr. Slice, I see your thing. I know I've got all my emails. I've just not had a chance between this and these buggers and having to box things off and like sign stuff and like that's me done, like signed out. There you go. That's your job now. You to call that on. I haven't had a minute to do my email, so I'm gonna tomorrow after the girls have gone. I'll sit down and I'll go through everything, and I'll be in touch. And then we'll do it your way. What I tend to say to people is whatever you're comfortable with, I'll do. Some people just want to write it out. Other people want me to phone them and so I can record the call. Other people are just happy to be interviewed. It just depends on what you're comfortable with, and then we'll follow that. Shadow beings, I'll check the area out. I'll see what else I can find that is possibly paranormal or cryptid in any way. Because if you're seeing shadow beings, then that's energy of some kind, isn't it? You know? I'm just having a look. Am I a pink poo emoji? I don't even know if that is it. Is that a pink poo emoji? I don't know. I'm not really good at emojis, maybe. I was on Paranormal Roundtable, Vinny, but I've been at this a bloody long time. I've been doing it since, I thought, 82 or something like that. And me and Josh have tried sitting down for about the last 18 months. Contrary to popular belief, we're not best friends or anything like that. I know him. We move in the same circles, don't we? And I like what he does, and he likes what I do. So he'd asked me a few times if I'd sit down and record with him, and we managed to put something together a few months ago. Not spoke to him since. Spoke to Nelly. Got on with Nelly okay, but I've not spoke to Josh since. But I think we covered everything, didn't we? And I'm kind of like that, me. I'm much happier just doing my own thing, rather than. I don't like getting pigeonholed. So like sometimes I'll interview someone, but then I'll go weeks without doing an interview, and I've got so many set up coming for the next few months, witnesses, and people with channels I think you'll all enjoy. So getting them on, and getting them on the live streams as well, and doing that going forward. But like I say, I'm gonna get going now. I know I'm normally on a bit later, but I can feel my slurring coming. I think I need me to take my pain pill. I do. I need me meds. I've not had a good day today. Yeah. I think lots of people found me on Josh's show, which was absolutely bloody brilliant. A lot of drama found me because of not Josh's fault at all, nothing to do with Josh, but it's been a bit of a roller coaster. But yeah, I like Nelly. Nelly's funny, and I like her singing, and I like the drawings that she does. I like artistic people because I'm not artistic in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, I don't even know who Enzo is. Enzo said I'm a pink poo, Mark. I'm absolutely distraught. I'll have to go get counselling now. Yeah. Things I've been called everything, man. From a Jezebel to
Pink poo.
a pink poo, apparently. Like an emoji thing, like the babies have, but pink. I love your face. And on that note, thank you to Joe and Brian, my admins, as per usual, who have got rid of all of the trolls for us tonight. I'll message you guys in a minute and you can fill me in and let me know what's going on. Fiona's saying she saw me on a programme. I'm getting a bit like Terry Wogan, aren't I? I'm popping up everywhere. Just scrolling. If you get sick of me, just keep scrolling. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is. I will be back on Saturday with another Premiere Fire and a live stream. And like I say, the new Woodwoos account will probably go out Wednesday. I'll give people a chance to look at the Cannock Chase murder one first. But thank you for tuning in, as you do each week. And if you're new and you've tuned in, thank you. Give us a click, a like, or a share, or make a comment in the comment section below. It's absolutely free and it really helps me out. So until next week, everybody. Good night, everyone.